Breaking news as we begin NFL Live. Adam Schefter, what's the latest?
All right, Laura, the deal that the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa have been trying to work out has been agreed to. A 4-year, $212.4 million extension, $167 million in guaranteed money, and that makes Tua's average annual salary $53.1 million per year. Do you know what Dan Marino's career earnings with the Dolphins were? $51 million. Tua beats that on average in a single year. But this was the deal that they've been trying to get done. Tua really didn't practice the first 2 days, and the sign that something was up may have come earlier today when Tua was a full participant in practice, and a short time later, the richest deal in Dolphins franchise history is agreed to. Tua and the Dolphins get their agreement done.
There are so many different angles to this. We'll be on it throughout this hour as we welcome you into NFL Live. Our national NFL reporter, Lindsay Theory, is here, Mina Kimes and Bill Barnwell. And I just want to say, before we dive into the particulars here, I'm so happy for Tua Tagovailoa. This was a journey for him all the way back to, of course, the injury history in college and so many of the doubters. He has stayed true to who he was, very close with his family, and he has brought himself into a great position to make a lot of money, but also to be a big reason why this Dolphins franchise can have success. Mina, when you see this deal, what's your first reaction?
The first thing that jumps out is 4 years. Even if you consider the guarantees and we're waiting for the details, bring that down to, 3 years really or whatnot. It's still a long deal for a player who, not that long ago, and Laura, you alluded to this, we were talking about the possibility of him retiring from football. He has overcome a great deal of adversity, both coming into the NFL and once he arrived in this league. And this deal is a testament to how much he has worked to overcome that, and also his health last year. It was a deal that was always going to get done. I'll start here, Laura. In my mind, Tua is a quarterback who you can absolutely win games with. With his leadership, this Dolphins offense has been explosive. They have been amongst the best in the NFL over the last couple of years. A nightmare to stop. So the idea that they would have moved on from Tua, especially since his offense, it's often talked about how much Tua benefits from the speed of the skill players and his play caller, Mike McDaniel. But I would push back and note they also benefit from him. This offense benefits from his lightning quick release, which compensates for what I believe are some major issues on the offensive line. You've heard me talk about this a while. So the deal was always going to get done. I think whether or not Dolphins fans feel good about it in 1-2 years, it does depend on whether Tua can improve at a couple of the things that have played a role in the Dolphins' struggles down the stretch. Namely, while he is unbelievable with that quick release, when he holds onto the ball for over 2.5 seconds, which would be anything outside a quick game, really, his QBR ranking drops from 3rd to 16th. A lot of that is the fact that he doesn't play particularly well under pressure, another area where he ranks low. Now, again, I want to stress this, he mitigates a lot of that pressure because of his style of play, but I do believe if this team is going to get over the hump, Tua has to improve in those areas.
Yeah, Mina, you mentioned getting over the hump late in the season, and the reality is Tua has not won a playoff game so far on his rookie deal, and that's a concern for me now because Tua is getting a lot more expensive, and we've already seen that impact the Dolphins' plans around Tua Tagovailoa. Look at what happened this offseason. They were not able to bring back Christian Wilkins, their excellent interior defensive lineman who went to the Raiders on a massive deal. Offensive line is going to be impacted. They were not able to bring back Robert Hunt, who went to the Panthers on a massive deal. Multiple starters from last year's offensive line did not come back to this team because the Dolphins had to budget for a significant raise for Tua Tagovailoa. And this is not just a Dolphins thing. This has been a problem for most teams as they hand quarterbacks those second deals. The only quarterback since the league moved to the slotted draft era in 2011 to win a Super Bowl on his second contract is Patrick Mahomes. Guys who were seen as essential, who made it to the Super Bowl on their rookie deals. Guys like Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, even Russell Wilson. They were not able to make it back once they got more expensive and the teams had to adjust around them financially. So this is a great win for Tua Tagovailoa. Very happy for him, as Laura mentioned. But this is a new kind of challenge for the Dolphins, and they're going to have to win now with less talent around Tua Tagovailoa than they had with him on that rookie deal.
Bill really just hit on it. The fact that Tua Tagovailoa now gets this deal means that going forward, the expectations just went up another bar. He became healthy. He proved last year he could play an entire season, took them to the playoffs. Now it's not just taking them to the playoffs. You get this deal, you need to go win in the playoffs. And that is a tall task to accomplish in a conference against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But you have Mike McDaniel, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Tyreek Hill. So those guys together with Tua now back at practice with this deal done, that has to be the goal, to look ahead to the playoffs. And know they have a long season to play, but the bar has just been raised substantially for Tua.
Yeah, Adam, when you parse through all of this, what else sticks out to you that we should know about this deal getting done, and then how the Dolphins feel about it on their side of things?
Yeah, a few things stand out to me, Laura. Again, when they went and hired Mike McDaniel, they made a brave stand behind Tua Tagovailoa that he was their quarterback. And they really never wavered off that. There were questions about whether Miami should be sticking with him shortly after the Dolphins drafted him. There were questions about his health and his concussions after he suffered all those concussions that one particular year. So there were continued questions about his readiness moving forward. And also, again, to the point that Bill raised, this window for a Super Bowl that every team has while a rookie quarterback is on his rookie deal. They were able to go out and trade for Tyreek Hill. They were able to go out and trade for Bradley Chubb. They were able to make moves that some other teams can't afford. And now that you're paying Tua, it's tougher to do those deals. He still hasn't won that playoff game. So the pressure is on for everybody to have this contract pay off in the way that everybody wants it to.
They're seeking long-term deals, of course. Well, at least now Jordan Love is. Tua's got his. Tua finished atop the league with over 4,600 passing yards, while Love, in his first year as a starter, threw 32 touchdown passes, which trailed only Dak Prescott. But Tua had the edge in completion rate, with Love in the bottom half of the league in that regard. Adam, now that Tua's deal is done, what do you think that means for Jordan Love's deal?
Listen, I think there was a sentiment out there across the league that Jordan Love and the Packers were closer than the Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa. But that shows you how quickly these things can change and get done. And today, the Dolphins and Tua bridge that difference, get the deal done. And again, to me, it's only a matter of time before Jordan Love and the Packers finish that deal off, cross the finish line, shake hands, and etch it into history as the richest contract in Green Bay Packers history. They've been close. They've been close all along. The Packers want to get it done. They want Jordan Love back at practice. He wants to get it done because there's too much money at stake. We all see what the numbers are. The roadmap is there for Jordan Love to get this deal done. And he's not going to be back at practice until it does get done. And so the urgency for both sides is ramped up. And I still think at some point, sooner rather than later, the two sides will figure out a way to get it done and make Jordan Love the richest player in Green Bay Packers franchise history.
Yeah, Mina, we all wondered where Tua's deal would slot in. Like you've said, we knew it would get done, but it might be below some others. Jordan Love in a different situation. Both quarterbacks have put up great numbers, but why does it feel like the Love contract is a little easier than Tua's?
Well, I'll start by addressing one of the areas where I said Tua needed to improve at. I talked about how his play under pressure hasn't been great, 20th in QBR. Jordan Love was 5th over the entire season. The second half of the season, he was 2nd. He had a QBR of 75. Tua in that same time frame, was 5 when pressured. He has already shown. Flashed implies it was a brief, period. It was really over the course of the entire second half of the season. He showed the qualities you want in your franchise quarterback. And I think the Packers have every reason in the world to believe that that level of play continue. I also think it is easier for this team from a franchise building perspective because he is playing with such an unbelievably young offense. This is not the Dolphins, where you've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, both of whom are on big contracts. One might even get bigger. You're surrounded by guys in Green Bay who are on their rookie contracts. So it should be easier, in my opinion, for the Packers to pay Love because of the way this football team is built.
Mina, you mentioned those young receivers, and it is actually historically young in Green Bay right now with Jordan Love. Yeah. You go back to last season in terms of the wide receivers and tight ends he was throwing to. Jordan Love, on a weighted per target basis, had the youngest group of wide receivers and tight ends since at least 1990. As far back as we have data, Jordan Love had the youngest group of receivers in all of football. So not only is Jordan Love expected to get better this upcoming season, but all those young players are going to get better. They didn't have Christian Watson off and on last year because of an injury. They didn't have David Bakhtiari, their starting left tackle, who missed most of the year. They've now added to replace him in the draft. They've brought in Josh Jacobs, a younger running back than Aaron Jones. Jordan Love has a group of players around him who project to get better. And no disrespect to the Dolphins, who have a ton of talent around Tua Tagovailoa, but Tyreek Hill was so good last year that it's hard to imagine him being any better now this upcoming season. So I know the Packers are expecting to get this Jordan Love deal done, and they're fortunate that they really have very few financial responsibilities in terms of big money salaries on the offensive side of the ball, besides their burgeoning young quarterback.
To Bill's point of the youth in Green Bay, I remember week 1 last season, I was covering the Packers. I talked with Matt LaFleur on the phone and said, what does Jordan Love need to do to be successful? And Matt just put up the big stop sign, was like, don't ask me about Jordan Love, ask me about everyone around Jordan Love. This is such a young group that needs to continue to grow. Fast forward to week 18 at Lambeau, and they are cruising into the playoffs with that win. And to see Jordan Love and his group around him, the improvement, the progress they made as a unit to then go into Dallas and win a playoff game was substantial. And to think that this group now, as long as Jordan Love gets his deal, will be together for the foreseeable future. I mean, the Packers' future is looking really bright, which is obviously a sign that they want to get this done as soon as possible.
And look, think about how strong that NFC North division is now. The Lions get Jared Goff done. You assume the Packers will get, at some point, Jordan Love done. The Bears just drafted Caleb Williams. The Vikings drafted J.J. McCarthy and signed Sam Darnold. So all of a sudden, there's a lot of quarterback firepower. But it's really interesting to me just to see how all of these situations play out in the various cities. It feels like there's almost somebody on every team right now that wants a new deal, that's holding out, that's holding in. It's the theme of the summer. It's the rage right now. The Dolphins have taken care of one of the major issues for them. There are other issues all around. And again, with Tua Tagovailoa getting done, and we assume at some point Jordan Love getting done, I don't mean to bring it back to this again, but all of a sudden it comes back to the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott again, sitting there on the sideline. Everybody waiting for Dak and Dallas, and is going to be waiting an awful long time for that deal because Dak has got more leverage than any player in the National Football League. You can make the argument that Dak has got more leverage than any player in the NFL has ever had. He's poised to become a free agent without any tags, strings, restrictions. He can go to an open market where there will be a minimum of a half dozen teams that need a quarterback. And I know Jerry Jones is talking about his confidence in re-signing Dak, but I heard Dak talk about the fact that he's thought about the idea of other quarterbacks leaving. I heard him say that yesterday. He knows what it's like on the other side. And so we could talk about Tua and Love all we want. The story of this season still is going to be Dak and what happens with his future in Dallas. You know,
here I thought we were going to get through the entire first part of the show without talking about the Cowboys, but Adam, you just had to do it. Thanks to Adam for jumping on with the breaking news on Tua Tagovailoa. We'll talk about the Dolphins throughout the show. The expectations now even higher than before that Tua got paid.
Don't forget to subscribe.